Podcast Network Asia.
Welcome to She Talks Peace, a podcast that highlights the role of women peacebuilders around the world in bringing lasting peace and security to communities. Eavesdrop on their communities and get to know their stories. From the Philippines to Malaysia, from Indonesia to Palestine, from Myanmar to the United States. Their dreams and hopes for a world without violence and a world where every woman and girl can be whoever she wants to be. Hosted by Amina Rasul Bernardo, President of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy. This is She Talks Peace.
Salam everyone! Hello. Welcome to another interesting episode on She Talks Peace. I am Amina Rasul of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, greeting you from Manila. And I am joined by my lovely co-host.
Hi everybody, this is Dr. Ayesa. I'm based here at University Malaysia Sabah in Kota Kinabalu. And I'm happy to be joining again Ms. Amina Rasul for another episode of our She Talks Peace.
So what's up, Ayesa? What mischief are you doing in Sabah at the university these days?
Well, it's the usual work that we have at the uni, teaching. Like this morning, I had my human rights class. And of course, I had to engage the students in discussing very difficult questions about human rights, how they view human rights, especially when they look back about, how they grew up in their families, the traditional values and traditional practices. Ask them directly whether they think it violates human rights or not. So a lot of interesting answers also from my students. They've been sharing to me about bullying or even sexual harassment, verbal sexual harassment. So it was a very good class this morning, Amina.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you actually get your students to share personal discussions about their families. That's really, really great, because I'm sure that helps you also in calibrating the research that you're doing. So you must be very proud, Ayesa, of your classes.
Well, as I always tell all of my students every year, I don't really look at them in terms of how many grade A's do they get. After all, it's their own personal performance. But what matters to me most as a teacher really is that hopefully when they finally join the workforce or they become, who knows, maybe politicians in the future, then if they can remember what they've learned in our class, then that to me is really an indicator that I've done well as a teacher, and that they've also learned well during their time with me. Yeah. So how about in Manila, Amina? Any exciting news, especially in the peace process? Like, how is the Mindanao peace process holding up?
Well, so far so good. All quiet on the Western Front. So I guess the leadership of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region for Muslim Mindanao, whom you know very well, leadership led by the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, they seem to be doing well, managing the transition, because dear listeners, this Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao is a very exciting experiment, because we had a successful peace process with the Muslim Liberation Front, two of them actually. What we have now is an experiment in a regional autonomous government that's very different from the national. I mean, imagine this, if you will. At the national level, we have a presidential system, very much like the United States, but in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region for Muslim Mindanao, it's a parliamentary system. So there's going to be a lot of kinks in the works, but I guess there's a lot of cooperation, not just from the government, but from civil society, because we all want the the peace agreement to succeed. And luckily, Ayesa has also
That's
had
right.
a hand in working on the peace process. But Ayesa, I was just
That's
thinking
true.
that during the negotiations between government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, there were occasions where some of the MILF leaders were brought to other areas where you had similar conflicts, like in southern Thailand. And you know what,
Yeah.
Ayesa? I didn't quite
Yes.
realize that the problem in southern Thailand started in the 60s. Can you imagine? So pretty
Yeah.
much, although it was very, very low level of conflict at the time, I mean, they hit that conflict starting at about the same time that we were having the really bad armed conflict between the Moro National Liberation Front, led by Professor Miswari, and government. Can you imagine? I'm so ignorant about matters
Yeah.
in southern Thailand, how the conflict started, what they're doing now. But the 60s, Ayesa, can you imagine?
Yeah. I guess, I mean, because it happened that while it is true that more or less the MNLF and the non-state actor groups from Southern Thailand also came about almost the same time in the late 60s, it was really, and all the while, peace studies and conflict resolution practitioners were thinking, this was before 2004. Everybody was looking at Southern Thailand conflict as a very successful type of conflict management by the Thai state. So that was how it was, before 2004. But when 2004 happened, there was this incident called the Takbay incident. And I think our guest speaker today will, can tell us about this Takbay incident. That was really when, the conflict again, escalated. So for a while, it was well managed, and suddenly Takbay happened, and then now it's still a continuing process, and I'm sure our guest will also give us updates of where they are now in the peace process. Yeah, it's actually
Yeah,
exciting that in the region, I mean, there are actually several right to self determination or identity type of conflicts, that
that's
we've
true.
been working on for quite some time. Not only Bangsamoro, but also southern Thailand. Then there's Aceh, and of course there's Timor Leste. So these four conflicts are really more or less, similar, and that is why we label them as right to self determination type of conflicts.
Yeah, that's why it's really great, Ayesa, that on this episode of She Talks Peace, we will be talking about the armed conflict in the southern provinces of Thailand, but we'll be taking a closer look at the perspective of religion. What role does religion play? What positive role can religion play? I'm excited about that, Ayesa. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's also good to for our viewers to understand that if you compare it to the Bangsamoro situation, the one distinct contrast would be the population mix. If in the Bangsamoro region or in Mindanao, the Bangsamoro population has become smaller. In southern Thailand, actually, 90% of the population in the southern Thailand provinces, that includes Yala, Narathiwat, Songkla, um, and
Patani.
what is this again? There are four
Patani.
provinces. Patani, okay, the
Patani.
most important one, Patani. So 90% of the people there are actually Malay Muslims, while only 10% are Buddhist Thais. So it in that way, it has a very interesting dynamics as well, where in fact you already have the Malay Muslims as a majority population as compared to our Bangsamoro case, that we are not really, we are like in a minority, in the whole of Philippines and in Mindanao, but at the same time, we really look at it as as a process of marginalization instead of a minority issue. Yeah.
Yeah, same
So
dynamics. I'm
shall
so
we now?
excited, Ayesa. Do introduce our guest and
Yeah.
let's bring her on board.
Okay. So our guest for today is none other than Dr. Suphatmet Yunyasit. Okay. Suphatmet, or we call her in our network, the ASEAN Women Peace Registry, we call her TUM. So Dr. Tum is in fact the member or the representative of of Thailand to the ASEAN Women Peace Registry, and Dr. Tum has been an academic, for quite some time already, since 2012 when she joined the faculty of the. So today we will be joined by our special guest. Her name is Dr. Suphatmet Yunyasit. Dr. Suphatmet, or we call her Dr. Tum, or Tum. She is the Thai representative to the ASEAN Women Peace Registry. And Dr. Tum here has been part of the Institute of Human Rights and Peace Studies at Mahidol University. So a lot of her work, has really been from her research, and a lot of her fieldwork activities, working in the southern Thailand provinces, where she specializes on all these conflict transformation and peace building, focusing, as you mentioned, about relationship between different religious groups, the Buddhists and the Malay Muslims and other religious groups as well. So Tum is as an anthropologist, by training, but she has really been also very well known, for her work in terms of women's rights issues as well in southern Thailand and in the whole of Thailand. So I'd like now to call on our friend Tum to join us.
Hi.
Welcome, Tum, to She Talks Peace.
Yes, thank you, Isa, for the introduction. Yes, thank you very much for having me today.
Welcome, welcome, Tom. I'm glad you're over COVID finally. And that you
Yes,
can join us.
yes, luckily. It's interesting also to share with you. I also listening to what you're discussing just now. It's very, it's an honor to join your discussion today. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Oh, by the way, Ayesa, Tom had a paper, a publication, I think last year. And this is a study comparing southern Thailand and Mindanao in the Philippines. And it was a study on interreligious dialogue used as a tool to transform conflict and build peace, but within ASEAN context. That's pretty interesting for all of us. But how did you get into this field, Tom? I mean, what inspired you to study religion in the context of peace and conflict?
Well, at first, it's not really about religion. I was interested in culture. I studied literature, and also when I got a chance to study in Malaysia, I spent about a decade in Malaysia, and then I immersed myself with the kind of context with multicultural interaction, interreligious interaction. So that my interest shift from culture to religion, right? And I see the role of religion. Religion can play so many roles to enhance peaceful coexistence in a society like Malaysia. They interact greatly, and then they're so rich. The multicultural, multi-religious context compositions of Malaysia is so rich and so vivid. So that inspired me to look into the issues of religion, of their identity. So that's the starting point of how I venture into this field of religions and peace building. And then later on, when I get a job at the Institute of Human Rights and Peace Studies as a lecturer, we have a chance to really do a lot of things in the southernmost provinces of Thailand, where you already said in the introduction, we have conflict that ongoing since 2004, right? But it can date back to the 1960s, like you mentioned, Amina. Some people said it can go way back, maybe 500 years ago. Also possible.
Yeah, right.
How the dynamic, how the evolution of the issue has been, for a decade, for a century, I can say, for a century, yes.
Common friend of ours.
Amina,
Told me what.
there's actually
Wait, this is funny. Yes, because a common friend of ours told me once, and I was talking about the conflict in southern Thailand, and he said, "Oh, you mean Upper Malaya?" Yes, yes. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it's like it
you know,
depends how you
Amina,
count.
Tum and I are similar in a way. Tum also finished her PhD from a university in Malaysia. And Tum is also good in speaking Bahasa Malaysia.
Oh, I would not say that my Malay is good, but it's, I can converse in Bahasa. So that's a plus point when you study so long in Malaysia, you pick up the language, right? I studied at first, and then I continue my PhD at UKM, the Kebangsaan Malaysia, right? So where my professor is there. So he's from Kelantan. My late professor Muhammad Yusof Ismail. So that's my mentor and my father actually. he is, yeah.
So tell us about the conflict in southern Thailand, Tum, or Upper Malaya, whatever. How did it start, and what's going on today?
For the conflict, this one that happening in the south of Thailand since 2004, you want to count this recent episode, we lost about 7,000 lives so far since 2004. And of course, it's about the history that we have in the past concerning the Malay populations in the south. So in the past, in the south of Thailand, we have the Sultanate called Fatoni Sultanate, and there's independent state run by queens and also her assistant, right? And then later on, when during the Ayutthaya time, there's a conqueror. They call us the conqueror from the north, the Thai Buddhist state from Ayutthaya, try to
Tom, we
integrate
lost
this
you again.
sultanate into a bigger. Oh, really? Yes.
We lost you again when you were talking about the conquerors of Ayutthaya.
Okay, so
And there, you can start there.
What if I change
It's the internet.
What if
It's
I
your
change?
connection.
Okay, I try to change the network. I
Okay.
operate
Okay.
with two networks.
Yeah.
Maybe this one is better.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Let's try it. From Ayutthaya as conquerors.
The Siamese kingdom. The Siamese kingdom during Ayutthaya time, they venture to the south and they try to integrate this sultanate into a part of bigger Siamese kingdom. So that's how the issues of cultural assimilations come along since centuries ago, and it's been ongoing and intensified during the 1930s on.
So is there a peace process in southern Thailand with the state, with the Thai state?
Yes, the peace process started since 2010, officially kickstart in 2010. And it's been, they're trying to integrate, try to incorporate all those conflicting parties. We have one big party, is Thai state actors, the Thai government. And the other part, we have the insurgent group, which altogether there's about 7 or 8 groups altogether. Right, and they have different view also how they want to see the end games of this conflict, right? So that 2 parties, and then we have Malaysia involved as a facilitator for the conflict. But so far, before the peace process started, there also been the talk behind the scene as well, right? But the peace process started in 2010, and then right now there's many development along the way, but of course it's difficult to build trust between these two groups of actors. As you know, in a peace building peace dialogue, the trust building is very important. So 5 years ago, they are trying to come up with project called Safety Zone, but later on it's been cancelled, right? So right now it's been difficult to really engage the two parties into concrete activities. But even though they engage a lot in talking, Malaysia try their best to facilitate the peace talk, whether in Malaysia or in the northern parts of Malaysia, so in Kuala Lumpur itself, right? But it's somehow difficult when the both parties still unsure about what the other side think of them, and also the recognition the state given to this insurgent group. There's been no official
Oops, you lost
recognition
you
given
again,
to this
Tam.
party, right? Somehow it's poor.
Tam, there was
Yes.
a gap again,
Yes.
but that's okay because I'll ask
Okay.
a question. So Tam, what is the safety zone, and why did the state stop implementing the safety zone?
They are trying to select about 5 areas in the south of Thailand to become a safety zone, meaning that there will be no attack, nor arm shooting between the state and also the insurgent group, become a safe space, right? But somehow they managed to identify the spot to implement this project. But later on, it become a complication because people are not sure whether how many people will get involved in this can follow through the step that's set by the state and also by the insurgent group. And it's been a voice from the Malay Muslim women, and also when women talk about safety zone, they think about safety zone like at the marketplace or schools or something else. But in the eyes of the state actors and also the insurgent group, with their male, right? So they have different ideas of safety zone. They identify some other spot apart from this daily interaction, the place for daily interaction with for women. They identify different places for safety zone. So that's why it become a clash also between how the conflicting party think about safety zone and how the other population think about it. And later on, because of some complications on
That's a very
women,
good point,
yes,
Tam. That's a very good point. Tam, that's a very good point. If I may, extend the
yes,
discussion, because you mentioned a very good point that the women have different understanding of which area should be a safety zone as compared to the state and the non-state actor groups. And that's where WPS comes in, Tam.
yes. That's why voice of women is very matters in this issue, right? And then, but in the South, we still lack representation, women representations in the peace negotiation table, right? Maybe women is on board as well, but not officially recognized or appointed as a part of the team, right? So that's something that we need to follow or observe the example from the Philippines as well, how you manage to increase women participation in the peace process.
Will it make a big difference, Tom, if your government would give more participation for women? Because the other thing that you and I used to talk about was a problem also from the Buddhist end of it, and I think Ayesa from the Muslim part of it. How do you get these faiths to give more chances for women to participate in peace building and peace processes?
No, it's important to have women on board because they are the key stakeholders of the conflict. When men are fighting, right, women have to take up so many roles that they have never done before, right? So that's why their voice, their concern, their grievances matter, and we need to listen to them more. And I believe that as a women, that can manage to reach out to various groups of people and can become a connector to this conflicting society. They can engage more with various groups of people, with youth, with elderly, with religious leader, with many parties. But for the Southern Thailand, I can see that for the Buddhists that I interacted with, the women managed to do a lot. Buddhist women, they reach out to youth and also to their
Lost you
Muslim
again.
counterpart. They engage.
We
Oh, sorry.
lost you again. You were talking about
I
Buddhist women.
Yes. Okay. So maybe okay. Now it's okay now.
Yeah.
So
okay.
unfortunate. Why did everything fall apart? Normally, I
Maybe
have very
some, some,
We can do it. We
maybe
can do
you
it.
can talk about how Buddhist women are trying to get the monks, for instance, to give them space.
yes. Uh, these issues about women, Buddhist women engaged in peace building is been something that we are tackling along with the project that we started about 6 years ago when we get the funding from the Swiss government. Because 6 years ago, you will never hear about the voice of the Buddhists. Everybody attentions or resources will go to the Malay Muslim, right? So we are considered to be the first organization that
Lost you again.
try to engage with the Buddhists, okay, and have the Buddhists talk more about their grievances, their concern, and how they want to see change. Yes. Yeah.
You start on the point on how there this is the first time that there are voices from the Buddhist community. You start again
Okay.
there
Okay.
because
So
that one was
our
cut off.
Okay. So our project that started 6 years ago, funded by the Swiss government, we are trying to reach out to the Buddhists because during that time, there's not so much voice of the Buddhists that put on the table. We don't know what the Buddhists think about the conflict or whether they have anything to say about what kind of thing that we should move forward. So that's the first time that we are trying to bring the Buddhists on board. And the Buddhist women also one of the key actors in the community that we engage with the civil society sectors that mostly are Buddhist. Right, so we bring them together and discuss why the conflict and also reach out to other actors that engage in conflict as well. So that's the idea that we have both Buddhist lay actors and also religious leader engaged in peace building. Right.
Okay, Tam, can we ask you, how do you do this interreligious dialogue? How does this work in your
Okay, so
project?
our interreligious dialogue is something that we have been engaged in since 2009. Even before I joined the Institute of Human Rights and Peace Studies, we serve as a headquarter for Religion for Peace Thailand, and now I'm the Secretary General of that organization. So interreligious dialogue is something that we are trying to perceive as a tool to transform conflict. We believe that it's not only vertical relationship, meaning state actors and citizen relationship, that needs to be tackled in order to transform the conflict, but the horizontal level also matters. That's why we have this interreligious dialogue.
We lost you.
Yes.
We lost you again. So can you start with horizontal level?
Horizontal
Okay.
level.
So at this horizontal level, we believe that if the community interaction is okay, so it's somehow gonna send an impact towards the vertical level, the state to citizen relationship as well, and also to the peace process. So that's why the interreligious dialogue that we engage with is started since 2009, and then we bring in religious leader, women, and also youth into this dialogue. And we have 5 religions that engage in this interreligious dialogue: the Muslim, the Buddhist, the Sikh, the Hindu, and also the Baha'i as well. Right, so we include all these group, the Christian, into these activities that we do. We have done since 2009.
Lost you again, Tam.
And come along with this dialogue. Okay. From which part?
2009. You were going to
Okay,
say
so
something
from
about
2000,
2009.
okay, from 2009 onward, our interreligious dialogue, we have three main groups of actors that get involved in this interreligious dialogue. We have religious leader, we have women, and also we have the youth group that engage in this. And prior to interreligious dialogue takes place, we also have capacity building workshop for them as well to understand more about deep listening, about cross community peace building, about conflict analysis. So this is come as a whole package with the interreligious dialogue. All right.
Yeah, but Tom, let me ask you a controversial topic, because when you talk about interreligious dialogue, you're talking about the leaders of the faiths coming together. But
Yeah.
In the Buddhist religion, and also in the Islamic faith, we have serious fundamental barriers for getting women to be part of
Yeah.
the leadership, the process of the faith. So, how are
Yeah.
you managing trying to get women's voices heard within the structure of the Buddhist religion? Because yes, and I can certainly use your insights for doing the work that we're doing within the Muslim faith as well, Tom. How do you
Oh,
do it?
oh, it's not easy. Also, the issues of women involvement in this process, right? We have bhikkhuni that not really officially endorsed by the actors in the society or by the mainstream or by the institution, Buddhist institutions in Thailand. So what I try to do regarding also this interreligious dialogue, we integrate the female Buddhist monk into the platform. But of course, we would like to have the monk
Lost you again,
that have a
Tom.
very open-minded.
Tom,
Okay, so which part?
You can
oh, this start with you're trying to get the monks to support you.
Okay, okay. So when we have this female Buddhist female monk join to the dialogue session, of course, there's some you know some monk that really open-minded. We try to integrate them into the platform. And if you read John Paul Lederach, he talked about critical yeast theory. Is that you find somebody that can make the whole dough. If you make a bread, right, the whole dough, you add the yeast and then the whole dough will rise up. So this thing, the Buddhist monk, the male Buddhist monk that open-minded enough, we integrate them into the platform with the female monk, and we hope that they can spread understanding about having female into the discussions, having female into the process of decision making. And this is our yeast, right? They are our yeast. So that's my strategy to try to have them familiar with the female monk and they work together for the future collaboration. Yeah.
You know what, Tom? I think you, Ayesa, and I are trying so hard to get our voices heard and becoming part of our faiths. But are you optimistic that it's going to happen? Because our faiths are really very patriarchal. Like we have women religious. We have the Alima. The Catholics have nuns, and Buddhists have female monks as well. But trying to get the patriarchal, style
Yeah.
management in our faiths is so problematic. So, are you optimistic, Tam, that we can really do this? Be heard?
Mm, I see there's a lot of challenges, but I still think that the
Lost you again, Tam.
future generation in Thailand, okay, thank you.
Start,
I
start,
see
you can
there's a
start
start.
lot.
with,
You can start.
start with I think there are challenges.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges, but from my view and my experience, I think the younger generation in Thailand, they are more open-minded with LGBTQ, with the women voice and whatever. So I think we are shifting toward a better situation, right? And then we can see that women have done a lot of things positive for the society, and then they should be given a chance to play an active role into this. So but of course we live in a patriarchal society, and that attitude not only about male attitude but the female, the women in the society as well, most of them or some of them trying to uphold the same kind of perception, the same standard. So we not only have to tackle the male actors but also the female actors as well, right? So that two things that is a amount of task that we need to tackle, not only about the male counterpart but also the female in the society.
Oh, I agree with them 100%
too.
on that. That we have to also reach out to the women, and
Yeah.
Tom is absolutely right, Ayesa. I mean, you and we've seen that happening, right? Where you have influential women who support the patriarchy and
Yeah.
are not really pro women's
That's
participation.
right.
Yeah. They try to uphold the
Yeah.
tradition. They try to, if you are try to go against the norm, the society that of the society, sometimes you will get attacked by the female, by the women as well. So
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
something should we have to think along, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my
Tom,
God.
I'd like to I'd like to know, do you have a lot of female Buddhist monk leaders? Are there many of them, or
Yes, in Thailand we have
can
quite a
you?
lot. Yeah, we have quite a lot in Thailand. Actually, I interacted with them both at the central region and also in the south.
Tom,
In the
you can
southernmost
start
of
again.
okay,
You
in
interacted with them
Thailand we
in
have
southern Thailand. So
in the southernmost provinces of Thailand we have the female monk we call Pikuni, right, from Songkhla joining our activities. And they're such a powerful group that can reach out to various groups of people, and then they really engage in peace work, cause community peace building. So we would like to see them play a more active role, not only in the south but also in other parts of Thailand too. Right?
I keep my fingers crossed that it's going to happen, Tom. But time flies, and I'm getting a message from our producer that we're running out of time. So before we say our goodbyes, Tom, perhaps you can reach out to our listeners and what's your message for them about getting women heard, even within the space of faith, because you're right, Tom. It could really happen at a faster pace. I mean, just look at what's happening in Iran. The women are rising up and saying we want freedom. So they're saying women freedom, and I'm looking forward to what can happen in the future. Will the women of Iran be able to reform the
Yeah.
very fundamentalist patriarchal system of leadership in Islam that they have in Iran? So, what's your message, Tam?
Mm, I believe if you like Aisha, I think you believe too that human rights is very important, and everybody should be have equal opportunity to participate in the social, political, or any sphere of the society, right? So women also play an active role so far, and then they because of the old kind of traditional mindset that set them back, right? So we would like to pledge society that you see the women as ally,
Lost you again, Tam.
as your
you start on
okay,
that. You see women as allies. You start from there. You
okay.
look at women as allies.
Okay, so we see so far that the development of the society, every society around the world, women play a key role in that. Decades ago, centuries ago. So that should be a chance for women to really feel free to express their ideas, that and also engage in action. And I think that if we regard women as an asset, it's only a plus point that we can get from that, right? I don't see any negative thing that come from that. Giving women more participations, respect, and also have them engage more in the society, right? So that's something that we should look forward to. Regard women as an asset and also give them a role to play in the society. But I have positive ideas about this scenario. I think we can
Lost you again,
advance for women's rights and so women in the future. Okay, I will
Let's
start from
start on the positive
Positive
scenario.
Okay, so I think I have a very positive thought on this scenario. I think it's gonna move toward a better direction with women engaged more and also being recognized more as a key player in the society. So whatever we're trying to do, I think we come to the right direction. We just have to keep going. That's all. So we want everyone on board into this mission, right? So whether you are youth, religious leaders, elderlies, or whatever, you can play a role into promoting women's rights and women's voice in your society. So just play your part, right? And then look forward to a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, and of course, you, Ayesa, and I, because we're part of the ASEAN Women Peace Registry, we tend to be a little bit more optimistic than most of our sisters elsewhere because, ta-da, ASEAN has its regional plan of action on women, peace, and security, which is going to be launched December. So I'm quite excited about that, and I'm sure you are too. So Ayesa, Tam, thank you so much for this fantastic conversation. And to our dear listeners, thank you for joining us. And by the way, dear listeners, if you have questions for our guest, for our Dr. Tam, and you have comments, do please send us an email at shetalkspeacepodcast@gmail.com. Let me repeat that. shetalkspeacepodcast@gmail.com. So thanks so much, Ayesa.
Thank you, Amina.
Yes,
Thank you,
yeah.
Aisa.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your work with us, Tam. And I'm sure, many of our listeners and viewers will really be inspired that, in the Buddhist community itself, they're also very active on conflict transformation and peace building. So all the best to your work at Mahidol.
And here's
Yes,
to
thank
women.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
She Talks Peace is brought to you in partnership with Podcast Network Asia and Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast. For more information, check out their website at podcastnetwork.asia and podmetrics.co.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.